Hi everyone, Fina here from Fina Reads, today with another book review, this time spoiler filled. I need to talk about this book. I need to get some things off my chest and I need to be able to freely talk about it. So I'm going to talk about book 7 of the Green Rider series, which is Winterlight. I don't have it on my shelf quite yet because by the time I'm filming it, the hardcover is actually not out yet. I've read it as an e-arc from NetGalley, so thanks so much for giving me a preview of my most anticipated release for this year and probably ever in my life, although book 8 probably takes that spot right now. Anyway, so this review will definitely contain spoilers of the series, and I will start with a non-spoiler view of the book, but it will have spoilers for the series itself. So if you haven't read till book 6, you might not want to watch the review because I have to talk about a lot of the things that happened till now, till book 6. And then I have to get into a spoiler talk for book 7 because I need to just talk about some of the things. And I hope that some of you have read it and you can help me. Alright, let's start with Winterlight itself. Winterlight is book 7 in the Green Rider series, and where book 6 ends when Zachary and Kerrigan are rescued from Second Empire in North, book 7 starts right there. We're joining Kerrigan on her journey back to Saco City, and it continues the way it ended. One thing after another, no break for our character. Kerrigan has to deal with the aftermath of what happened in book 6, of the torture that happened in book 6. So there's a lot of mental strain now that adds to her general devastation of war and everything that is happening. Winterlight in general is probably the fast-paced book of the series. So much is happening, so many things are being talked about. It's a non-stop wild ride, and no pun intended here, for all the characters. So from page 1 till the end, and the book has 800 somewhat pages, one thing after another happens. There's literally no break for the characters and for you as the reader neither. I did have zero chance to put the book down, and I mean every now and then I had to because I had to sleep, but it was really hard to find a break and to say, okay, this is a good natural break where I can take a deep breath and can put it down. Not going to happen in this book. A lot of the storylines that we've had from the series are continuing. The usual Second Empire, the Kerrigan and Zachary story continues, what happens with the Elysians, all of that continues, and Winterlight also introduces more storylines to the picture. I know, we're in book 7, but there's still more to come. So it's going to be interesting how she is going to wrap up book 8, I'm telling you that much. In this book we get more point of views, not in the sense of that we learn more about other characters. We've done that happen in all the other series, but now she is making a point of highlighting specific characters the way she highlighted Kerrigan in the past. Kerrigan has always been our main character in the series till book 6, right? Even though we learn from others and we every now and then got the POV of other characters, we never got a deep dive character study really for any of the other folks. Now she does that. There's one character in particular that she really focuses on, that we learn more about. We learn how she came to be. I don't want to spoil anything, right? But how she came to be and how her life continues the moment she, gets connected with Kerrigan, essentially. So very interesting storytelling aspect from Kristen Britain here. Kerrigan's character development still continues. So with the mental struggles and with the torture that she had to deal with in book 6, she now has to evolve even further. So now it's not just physical strength that she needs, right, from wandering around Blackvale and stuff like that, but also mental strength. And Kristen Britain does a good job, not necessarily talking about mental health, but she does a good job describing how our hero deals with the aftermath of book 6 and how she handles those mental strains that are now added to her everyday life. So great character development again. Great building up on Kerrigan, who already was an amazing character in the books prior. So it's really interesting to see how she continues to evolve. And it actually takes an interesting twist that I don't want to get into too much. Maybe in the spoiler section, but not right now. But there's an interesting twist to it. And I love how Kristen Britain continues to evolve the story, have our heroine, but tries to keep it realistic. Also, if you thought book 6 was already dark, book 7, yeah, so you're definitely going down a different path. I mean, this story is becoming... Let's just leave it as that. I mean, whew. What I really liked about this book is definitely the writing, as usual. Kristen Britain's writing is incredible. It is beautiful. It is her usual self. It's what we probably all love about the Green Rider series. That continues in book 7. As I said, what I also liked is the continued character development, that new POV, that she focuses on more characters than just Kerrigan and helps them evolve. I find that really interesting, and it adds just so much more depth to the story. Also, that not just from a character development perspective, but from a general story perspective, there's so much more that we learn in this story now, and there's so many questions that are now popping up. Like, some are answered, a lot more have been opened. So it is, just from a storytelling and from a world development perspective, boy, this book definitely is one of the biggest one in that regards. That's also one of my negative parts, though. There's so much stuff happening in book 7, and it's so fast paced that it's, one, easy to miss a couple of things, and 2, at the end I was wondering, did we really need all of those side stories? Because some of them were resolved pretty quickly, and I felt in a too easy way, that I was wondering, why did we even have it in there? If it was just such a short part, could we have maybe shortened that and then spent more time on other things and slowed down the pace a little bit? Also, if you're familiar with the series, you know how Kristen Britain loves her endings. Same here. Same here. Yes, things are being resolved, but not everything. You probably know what I'm talking about. Which we kind of knew. I mean, let's face it, there's one more book to come. We knew that not everything would resolve. But that makes waiting on book 8 now really interesting. Alright, before I go into the spoilers, I just want to say real quick that I think it's a great book. It's not my favorite book of the series, but it's not the least favorite of my series either. It's really somewhere in the middle. It's a solid book in the series. It talks about so many important things, and it gives a lot of satisfaction when it comes to conclusions of parts of the story. She reveals a lot of things where, like, okay, so that might be the direction she was going to go. So there are a lot of satisfying aspects of the story, being book 7, and hopefully with being book 8, the last one. I really hope it's going to be the last one. I don't think I can wait yet another 5 years after book 8 for an ending. I can't. I need to know how it ends. It's an amazing book. It's the typical Green Rider, Kristen Britain style writing. If you love the series so far, you're going to love book 7 as much. Alright, now let's get into spoilers, because I need to talk about some things, you guys. And if you haven't read the book, if you've read the series but you haven't read the book, stop here, because I am basically revealing everything right now, and I don't want you to hear any of this before you've read the book. But if you've read the book, please stay here and tell me what you think about any of those, because I don't even know. Alright, spoiler. Now we're starting talking spoiler. So now is your chance. You had, I don't know, a couple of seconds to turn the video off if you don't want to get spoiled. We need to start with Kerrigan and Zachary. What? What happened? What is happening here? I don't even know how she's going to resolve this in a way without killing anyone, or without completely devastating anyone, or without embarrassing Kutra or Lady Astora herself. Winterlight. We now know it's Lady Winterlight. That's where the title comes from, that Kerrigan is now royalty of the Elysians, which makes her royalty even in Zachoradia, which would make her eligible for being with Zachary. But Zachary is married to Astora. And even though I'm curious about her, by the way, what was that with the plans leaning towards Astora? What? Anyway, I don't even know how to resolve this. I don't know. I mean, are you killing anyone off? Are you relieving Zachary of his king duty, and Astora is going to lead the country going forward and she's finding a new king? Or what are you going to do? Plus, I'm not sure I like the ending where Astora said, basically, I know that you two are a couple, I leave you to it. It's fine, I'm okay with that. You can meet in secrecy here. I was like, is this a really good thing though? I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what to think about it. I mean, Astora and Zachary have children together. I understand royalty, and she tries to keep it realistic for medieval times. And, you know, they don't always marry for love, but Astora had feelings for Zachary at one point, and she is not happy about this, but she gives them space. How do you resolve this? I want them to be together so badly, but there's no end justifies the mean type of thing here. It just... what are we going to do with that? That next important part that we need to talk about, what's that with the new region and that new culture that is all of a sudden coming up? None of this was ever talked about in any of the other books. Why are we adding a completely new continent to the series and a completely new story arc to the series? There's just one more book. I mean, there's so much that is still out in the open. How can there be yet another storyline that has to be resolved? I don't know. I mean, this is going to be really interesting. That is one of those things, while I found this region really interesting and that pretty strong magical abilities that they have, I'm wondering if it just gets too much. Is this one of those story arcs that she should have left off? I don't know. It really depends on how she is resolving it, but I feel it adds a lot more to it. And I'm now really wondering, is there really just one more book going forward? Or not? Are there going to be more? Maybe it's one of those side stories that she wants to write, but this seems like a big story arc. What I like about it, though, it again adds something that makes it unique and takes it out of the typical medieval fantasy type world, but then again, don't we already have enough stories? And let's talk about all those storylines that are happening. So we learned about... I need to... because I can't even remember that. So we have the Darrow Raiders, which, okay, they gave explanation of the scar that Laren Mapstone had, but besides that, why did we have those? They died. All of them. Gone. Then we have the weapons. Are they responsible for all the magic going away years ago? What's that with the Scorch and that wood stuff that takes away magic? What's going on with the weapons? And at the same time then, with the Moon Priest that is now Astora's trusted advisor, what's with him? I needed more about what this guy is up to and what he's doing. He was so weird. We have Black Veil waking up. We have the whole storyline of the Sea Kings, and that hasn't been fully resolved from Mirror Side yet. Actually, there was not a lot of happening. Beryl Spencer, I mean, what? Then dragons? Okay. And then I think we found the dragon device, right? So at least that's, you know, a little bit movement. But that whole storyline was definitely not talked about enough, in my opinion. The whole thing with the Elysians and pronouncing her Lady Winterlight. What? I don't even have theories for what they are up to. Are they trying to marry her to an Elysian? Are they going to marry Astora to... So, what? I mean, and nothing about the Pedros. What's happening there? Didn't we just get them as allies? Where are they? Nothing. I mean, nothing about them. Then we have new gods that she can now see all of the sudden. Not just her one, but all of them. And then we have a new horse. So now we don't have, not only have Salvestar, I forgot what her name was, but the day horse. And that whole scene between the two was really weird. But the day horse is now pregnant. There's just so much, and I'm not even done yet. And then, what is that with Lala? I think Lala disappeared into her head, and that second Kerrigan that she's now seeing is also in her head. But then why do we have a second story of someone being in her head? I mean, it feels kind of repetitive. Even if it's not Lala, that second Kerrigan, it's still something where like, okay, we had something with Nissa being in her head all the time. Do we really need that same thing again? And if it's not Lala, where is she now? I thought Second Empire is destroyed. And then talking about Second Empire, that whole Lions thing, they never came up before, but all of a sudden they were there. It was talked about that they're stronger than the weapons, but then they got killed off in a paragraph. That also felt like an unnecessary arc, I think. Same unnecessary arc, like the one with Ben the Mender not being able to sleep. And you think it's kind of a big deal, but then a random person that I forgot if she was mentioned before or not, I don't think so. A random person all of a sudden talks about the solution and says like, here, this is why you can't sleep. I was like, so why did we have this then? If it was resolved that easily and that quickly, why did we even have this in the book then? It felt kind of irrelevant because it didn't affect anything. There were no side effects or after effects from Ben not being able to sleep, except for him not being able to sleep for a couple of days. And then so many just little things, like she found Cade's ancestors, but that was also just a short arc, and then she forgot about it immediately after he was dead, pretty much. The White World and all the weird universes that she went into, is like, where did that come from? Did we really need it? What does this mean for the conclusion? I mean, there are just so many random new worlds now all of a sudden. I'm really worried. Or, I mean, I know she said at one point that she wants to write side stories for some other things, so is she then now writing side stories for those different universes? Oh my goodness, my heart cannot. And then Alton, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Alton, but I hope he's okay. Let's all hope he's okay, right? So many things. I probably forgot half of them. But so many things. Man, one thing that I really like though, Kerrigan being like the hero and, you know, she being Sir and not Captain. Was she named Captain with all the titles? Anyway, so Kerrigan had so many titles already. So I'm glad there was a little bit making fun of her because of all the titles, especially after she came back Lady Winterlight. I mean, that's ridiculous. That one person has so many titles. So I'm glad Kristen Britain took a little bit of a humorous aspect of it and kind of made a little bit fun of it and took one of the titles away, even though it was awkward. I mean, what was happening with Connor, by the way? But even though it was kind of awkward how one of the titles got taken away, I think it is good because no one can be so heroic then, you know, it just felt a bit too much. And what I also liked is that she showed the dark side of Kerrigan and that Kerrigan is not the perfect person and how even a hero has to deal with, you know, mental illnesses and mental challenges. So that whole Nyssa being in her head, I actually really enjoyed that. Not because I'm, you know, I like dark things, but I think it's good to show that being a hero not always comes with just positive things, that there is a lot of stress and a lot of pressure on you when, you know, you're seen as someone like that, which she is even in her world. So I think that whole character aspect of Kerrigan was incredible and it was solved really, really well and was talked through really well as well. That is a lot of well in one sentence. Conclusion, as I said earlier, I think it was too fast-paced. I think there were too many small side storylines that I don't think were really necessary. I cannot wait for book 8. Overall, of course, I loved the book. I loved everything that happened. I'm glad that the whole Second Empire thing at least is resolved. At least I hope it is. But there's still so much in the open. Man, and Kerrigan and Zachary, I don't know what to do. I don't know. I really hope she can resolve this and find a good way of taking care of that. I don't know. And I sure hope that it's only going to be one more book in this series. I mean, again, I have no idea how she's going to wrap up all of this, but I hope it's going to be just one more book in the series and not 2 more or 3 more, so we don't have to wait as long to get our conclusion. But, you guys, man, what did you think? I want to hear everything. How did you like Winterlight? What are your thoughts on the book? What scene of the many stuck in your head the most? What is it that really impressed you of the book? What didn't you like about the book? I would love to hear from you. And then I hope I'll see you soon with my next video. Have a good day. Bye.